Youth Disability Radio.
Coast FM 963, you're on Raw Youth Disability Radio. And joining me on the line right now is a very special guest indeed, paving a path as a really exciting up-and-coming singer-songwriter and also a great representative for neurodivergent folk, much like myself. Joining me on the line right now is the incredibly talented and super cool HETHA. How are you today, HETHA?
I'm good. How are you? I loved that intro. I was not expecting that.
Thank you very much. I pride myself on my intros and my roars, more importantly.
I love that.
Now you, much like a lot of other people I've talked to who are neurodivergent, especially girls, you were only diagnosed quite recently with being on the autism spectrum. How was the diagnosis process for you? Were you kind of always aware that you were a bit different, or was it something that kind of popped up for you recently?
Yes, I was really, really blatantly, but I just didn't know that autism existed in the ways that it shows up for me. And yeah, I only got diagnosed last year, which is really crazy. Or maybe it was 2 years ago. See, there we go. Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago. It cost like about $2,000 and it took like 2 years with doctors and psychiatrists. But before that, I had actually been learning about it off TikTok. Allowed me to get a diagnosis to see the traits within myself.
And how do you reckon autism shows itself for you?
That feeling of always being on the outside. The social cues, I've definitely, it's been so validating to get a diagnosis, because before that I was like, I'm just a terrible person. That's why I have no friends. Because you just don't understand what's going wrong. And it also shows up with sensory issues, burnout, fatigue, information processing. I didn't used to realize, going through school, I would sit there studying and I'd be like, is it this hard for everybody else to process information? Is it this hard?
Preach. Oh my gosh, especially with the processing. We are smart, right? But it does take a few times for us to get what someone's saying to us. For me, for example, I can't just be told in general to do something. It has to be broken down step by step for me to fully grasp and understand what I need to do. So that's probably one of the more frustrating things for me personally. I'm sure you can relate to that as well. Now, the moment you found out that you're on the autism spectrum, how did you feel? Was it a moment of relief? Was it closure that you've got a name for it?
I was just sobbing in my car. I had to go through a grieving process, really, because it was almost like I was grieving because I, got diagnosed in my 20s. It was kind of grieving the life I could have had if I'd known earlier. And it was a shock because no one else in my family had been diagnosed at that point. And yeah, it's validating. It's super validating. But firstly was the grieving stage. But now I'm happy. I'm super proud to be autistic. And I just want for people like us to pave our way in this world and to show this society that there's nothing wrong with us, and just that they need to learn acceptance and love and empathy and celebrating differences.
Oh, I think that's absolutely wonderful. And one thing I absolutely have loved since I've been following your journey on socials is how open and proud you are about being on the autism spectrum. Now, music, is this something that you've always been into?
Yeah. I discovered I could sing when I was 7 years old, and I've been singing since I was 7.
The songwriting aspect of it, is that something that kind of followed naturally?
Well, no, actually. I had never written a song until my 20s as well.
Yeah, wow.
The thing that made me start writing songs is, I think, when I went into autistic burnout. That's when I wrote my very, very first song. I was living in Melbourne. I felt like I was dying. I was like, I don't know what's happening. I don't understand. And then, 5 years later, I can see, that was autistic burnout. I wrote a song called Green Streets. My dad was playing guitar. You know the song What a Time by Julia Michaels? I showed my dad that song and I was like, Dad, I like it. I love this song. And he was like, oh, that's really cool. Let me play the chords. And then he put the chords in a different order. And then I started singing I don't want to go back to the city. And I wrote my first song called Green Streets in 10 minutes. It just poured out of me. And it was a very magical kind of experience. My whole life to that point had kind of been leading up to that.
Yeah, wow. A bit of an epiphany moment right there. That's really awesome to hear the kind of the start of what you're doing now, which is really cool. Now, I discovered you through Triple J Unearthed and your brand newish single called Sugar. Now, we're going to be playing Sugar here very shortly, but before we get to that, can you give us a brief kind of summary on what Sugar's about?
So I wrote Sugar about my eating disorder, but it's actually, I feel the sugar can be a metaphor for anything that anyone kind of maybe has an addiction to, or anything that could like kill you, but it feels good. So yeah, that's what it's about.
Yeah, really cool. Well, we're going to be hearing that song very shortly from HETHA, Sugar, from her upcoming EP, which we will also be talking about shortly. She's going to stay on the line to talk a bit more with us, but coming up, we're going to be hearing Sugar. Coast FM 963, you're on Raw Youth Disability Radio, and that was a tune, a really nice, funky, poppy little number right there. It's called Sugar by our special guest joining us on the line still right now. HETHA is still with us. That's a brand new single of yours, HETHA, and we've got it on Coast FM. How cool is that?
Thank you so much for playing it. I think this is the first place that's played it on radio, so thank you.
Oh my gosh, well, I feel really even more honoured to have it with us right now, so go us and go you. One thing I'm really interested in finding out about is the whole process that goes into creating a song like that. Like, what was the process like writing and producing Sugar?
This one specifically, I didn't write it on piano. I wrote it with my dad. He played guitar and I sang over it. So he just had these guitar parts and I was like, yes, 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 take those, put it in this order. And then I wrote the lyrics over it. But no, oh my God. So I was living in Melbourne and I was back to this.
Nice.
And that was when like the height of my eating disorder happened. And so I just randomly was in my bed one Friday night on my own, and I just was laying there like a corpse, and I was like, peanut butter is my friend on a Friday night. And I wrote the first verse. I then sang it to my dad, and he was like, oh, boom, boom, and put this like rocky guitar next to it. It was originally like this rocky song. And then anyways, we finished the whole thing. He gave me the ideas like for the whoa, whoa in the chorus. And then he put a couple of extra lyrics in the second verse, I think. And then we put down a rock version, and then we sent that demo out to like a few producers, and then we worked with a guy in Melbourne called Ace. Yeah, he did it, and it's all remotely. And I do all of my songs actually remotely because for some reason I always work with producers who don't live in Sydney. So yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting to hear the process of it, and the fact that these days you can do that sort of thing. You can do it remotely. And I love that the fact that eating disorders have never sounded more funky, by the way. Like, that's a really cool vibe that the song has. Was that always the goal? Eating disorder,
but make it club anthem.
Club anthem for girlies that love peanut butter on a Friday night.
Yeah, girls, guys, and theys.
Yeah, I love that song. When I heard it on Unearthed, I was like, oh, yeah, this is a really cool number. I saw the description and I was like, she's autistic. Just like me. What? So, yeah,
thank you. I really appreciate it.
That's how it all started. So thank you so much for bringing yourself and that song to us. Now, while you're here, you've got another song that you've made. In fact, you've got many songs that you've made, but here's another one that you've brought to us tonight. It summed up quite a bit of the weather we've had throughout January this year. Dark Clouds, it's called. Now, what's this one all about?
Dark Cloud is, when you're in a dark place in your life, and for some people that can last a really, really long time, but it's essentially about hope, and like it's asking the people around you who you know and love deeply, will you wait for me because I'm still here, like I'm still inside and I still love you, even if I can't show it right now. And so it's about the hope that it's coming and like you'll come back home one day.
That's really sweet. I love that. And it's a good sort of thing for me personally. That means quite a bit in a slightly different way because I struggle to show my own emotions to the people I love the most, and I can come off as a bit, cold and a bit dismissive at times, but in reality, I'm screaming on the inside, I love you, I want you to stay with me, and it's really hard to get that message across. So I think that's really beautiful that you have conveyed that sort of message in song form with this one.
For sure, and it's so interesting how like autism presents differently for different people. If we're just talking, just speaking to that whole thing of like I'm hyper empathetic and some people are the opposite way. And so, yeah, we're all balls of love.
We're all balls of love. We're all human, and we all sometimes have dark clouds. Now, Heather's going to stay with us, but here is that song we were just talking about. It's called Dark Cloud.
Coast FM's Raw. Youth Disability Radio.
Coast FM 963, you're on Raw Youth Disability Radio. And that was another beaut song from our very special guest joining us on the line right now, Heather. It's called Dark Cloud, and it's off. Well, it actually hasn't been officially released yet, has it?
No, it's coming out on my brand new EP, which is called My Mum Thinks I'm a Pop Star. There is no date set yet because I am yet to finish the final vocals on the tracks because I've been sick since Boxing Day, but I will do it like in the next week. I'm going to start back on it. And then, yeah, I'm hoping for maybe like a March release or April. Yeah.
Yeah, very nice. So that's coming up nice and quick, which is so awesome to hear. It's a shame to hear that you've been sick, but it's better to lay down some sick vocals in a different way than the sick vocals you would have right now.
There's sick vocals and then there's sick vocals, You've got to get the right balance.
That's it. Real ones know the difference between sick vocals and sick vocals. You know what I'm talking about? Now, that song, Dark Cloud, it's on the upcoming EP, and thanks so much for giving it to us to have a play tonight. So what went into creating that song?
Well, that was also produced by the same production house who did Sugar, but I wrote it. Oh, okay. Dark Cloud is the first song that I ever wrote on my own without any help from anyone else. I sat down at my piano. It was a little old crappy keyboard in my little tiny bedroom. And I started playing these 3 notes, dun 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 dun. I just it just poured out of me what I was feeling in that moment. And I think I wrote it in a couple of sessions, but it was just me and my piano. And then I was really nervous to show it to my family and stuff because I was like, is this legit? Is this good? This was my first one I've ever done on my own, and they loved it. And then I showed some people and then they cried, and I was like, okay, I guess it's good. Yeah. It's a very, very special song to me.
Yeah, wow, what a milestone. The first one that you've completely written by yourself, and by the sounds of things, it's something you're very proud of, which is just awesome. And I can't wait to hear it alongside the other tracks on the EP, which is coming up very quickly.
Yeah, and my piano playing is on that song. My piano playing is also on the other 2 songs, another 2 songs on the EP, and then there's one song that doesn't have my piano, but yeah.
That's really sick. So you're showing off multi-talented right now. She can sing, she can play piano, she can do it all. That's crazy stuff. And speaking of stuff that you're doing, not only do you have this EP that's coming out in about a month's time, but on the side, you have started creating your own merch. You're wearing one right now. It says Disabled and Hot AF, which I think is just so cool. You got a whole line of T-shirts that you come out with.
Yes, I think my whole idea was I came up with the T-shirt idea, and then I was like, oh my God, that really goes hand in hand with promoting my original music, because every time I make a video of myself for my original music, I can literally just wear one of my T-shirts. And so it's putting both things out there. If they don't like the song, maybe they'll like the shirt. If they don't like the shirt, maybe they'll like the song.
Yeah, who knows? You got options there. And like I said, you're wearing one right now that says Disabled and Hot AF. What other designs have you come out with so far?
I've come out with Traumatized and Hot AF, CPTSD, PTSD, let's go. I've come out with Chubby and Hot AF because I'm all about body positivity. I've been referred to as chubby in my life, and I'm reclaiming the words that people have given me. And what else have I come out with? Chubby, Traumatized.
Autistic.
Yeah, how could I forget? I also really want to make an ADHD one, and I'm currently working on mentally ill and therapist in Hot AF because me and my therapist want to have matching. Well, I want her to have matching ones with a matching show with me. I'm also working on Fruity and Hot AF. It's got like 3 pieces of fruit. And that's about it.
Oh, well, that's awesome. You've covered all bases there, which I think is super duper cool. And like, honestly, she's doing the absolute most. You got the music, you got the shirts, you got the online presence. Speaking of which, if anyone's listening in right now that would like to follow HETHA on social media or even listen into your current music, you've got a few singles that you've already released in the last couple of years alongside Sugar, which has also already been released. Where can they find you?
On like Instagram and TikTok, I'm HETHA with an _.
Nice. That's nice and easy. Very catchy name. And I really highly recommend that people follow you because what you come out with and the positivity around who you are as a person, what you're doing in your life as well. And, you know, being autistic and hot AF, basically, I think it's just absolutely fantastic. And I want to say right now, thank you for doing what you do.
Literally, when I got your message, I was like, I actually started crying because I've never been, no one's ever reached out to me and or just told me like, you know what, like I feel seen by what you're doing and like what you're doing isn't dumb, it's not stupid, and like you should keep going. So thank you.
HETHA, it's been so cool to have you come on Raw with us tonight. Can't wait to hear your EP when it comes out. It's going to be called My Mum Thinks I'm a Pop Star. And otherwise, you can follow HETHA's neurodivergent journey on social media as well. It's been so cool to have you on the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
No worries. Thank you. Well, HETHA right there, wasn't she so lovely to chat to, telling us all about her experiences being diagnosed later in life with autism and also all about her upcoming EP. And I got to say, if the 2 songs we premiered on tonight's show are anything to go off, this EP is going to be pretty good. I can't wait. I'm so excited for it to come out. And if you would like to follow HETHA's journey and follow when the EP will be coming out, you can head to our Facebook page. Just search up Coast FM 963. Scroll down till you see the promo post for tonight's episode of Raw. There are links on there to HETHA's Instagram page, HETHA's YouTube channel, and also, most importantly, her Spotify page. So you can have a listen to the music she's already released, including the single we played on tonight's show, Sugar, and you can also keep track of when her EP, My Mum Thinks I'm a Pop Star, will be released as well. Also, if you're a young person living with a disability who is insanely talented like HETHA is, and you would like to show off your talent and share your story as well, feel free to reach out to us. You can email us at studio@coastfm.org.au or send us a message once again on Facebook, which is Coast FM 963. I would be so keen to have a chat with you.